Tomorrow morning, one man will walk to a wooden podium in the mountains of Wyoming, and within minutes, his words could decide whether silver finally breaks through $70 or gets slammed back below it. The market is already sitting right on the edge, and traders know that one unexpected sentence from the Federal Reserve Chair could be enough to send billions of dollars moving in seconds. Nobody knows exactly what is coming, not the traders watching the Treasury market, not the hedge funds positioning ahead of the speech, and not even the investors who have spent the entire week trying to decode Kevin Warsh's intentions. Oh, that's what makes this moment so dangerous. Silver has already pushed toward $70, and now the Federal Reserve is about to step directly into the middle of the trade. Here's why this moment matters, and why you should care whether you own a single ounce of silver or you've never thought about precious metals in your life. What happens at this podium tomorrow could ripple through interest rates. The dollar, retirement accounts, mortgages, and the cost of products that depend on silver. This isn't simply a story about people speculating on a metal. It's a story about what happens when a market already sitting near a major price barrier suddenly gets hit with a completely unexpected signal from the world's most powerful central bank. And somewhere underneath all of that, a much bigger question is forming. Is $70 the ceiling for silver, or is it the beginning of the next move? If you're interested in money, investing, gold, silver, and protecting your financial future, subscribe to Money Insights and like this video, because every week we break down the biggest financial stories in simple English. Let's start with where things actually stand right now, because the numbers alone are strange enough to make you stop scrolling. Silver is trading in the high $60 range, and it has already come within pennies of $70 this week. The metal recently reached roughly $69.94 before pulling back, leaving $70 as the obvious psychological and technical level everyone is watching. To put that move in perspective, silver has risen dramatically over the past year, with recent prices still roughly 77% above year-ago levels. That means this isn't some quiet commodity slowly grinding higher. Silver is already moving fast, and the market is now waiting to see whether $70 becomes a breakout point or a wall. But here's where everything changes. Silver's price isn't determined only by people buying coins, jewelry, or industrial products. Right now, one of the biggest forces sitting directly above the market is a boardroom in Washington, D.C. And the man about to speak from that boardroom's most important seat is Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh. Warsh is still relatively new in the job, and one of the things that has made his approach different is his reluctance to provide the kind of detailed forward guidance markets became accustomed to under previous Fed chairs. Instead of constantly telling investors what the Fed is likely to do next, Warsh has emphasized flexibility and reacting to incoming information. That sounds like a small communication change, but for markets, it creates a very different environment. Investors have fewer clues, which means every major speech becomes more important. That single change, giving markets fewer hints, is a huge part of why tomorrow matters so much. When the central bank stops spelling out its next move, investors start pricing multiple possibilities at once. For silver, that can create violent moves because the metal responds not only to inflation and industrial demand, but also to interest rates, treasury yields, and the strength of the dollar. Almost nobody noticed this at first. It sounded like a small, stylistic choice. But now every major Fed communication carries more weight because traders can't simply rely on a detailed roadmap for what comes next. And when silver is already sitting near $70, even a relatively small shift in expectations can create a disproportionately large move. At the last meeting in late July, the Fed voted 9-3 to hold interest rates steady, with 3 regional Fed presidents dissenting in favor of a rate hike. That disagreement matters because it shows that the debate inside the central bank is not purely theoretical. There are policymakers who are already more concerned about inflation and are willing to argue for tighter policy. Why does that matter to you if you've never traded a single share in your life? Because a rate hike makes holding cash and bonds more rewarding, which usually pulls money away from gold and silver since metals pay no interest at all. A rate hold or a signal that cuts could eventually become possible can do the opposite, especially if investors become more concerned about inflation or the purchasing power of the dollar. So every time the Fed even hints at which way it's leaning, silver can move. And right now, the committee itself has shown that there is genuine disagreement over the path ahead. History tells a very different story than the calm one investors want to believe. Go back to 2022, and a single Jackson Hole speech from Fed Chair Jerome Powell, 8 minutes long, triggered one of the sharpest one-day stock market sell-offs of that entire year. Go back to 2020, and a Jackson Hole speech quietly rewrote how the Fed thinks about inflation targets altogether, a shift that helped fuel years of loose monetary policy afterward. This stage, in this small town in Wyoming, has a track record of changing the direction of markets with a single paragraph. And tomorrow, Kevin Warsh steps onto that exact stage for the first time as chair. Here's the part almost nobody outside the bond market is talking about. The Treasury has been using debt buybacks as part of a broader effort to manage the supply and maturity profile of government debt, while Warsh has taken a more skeptical view of policymakers trying to directly manage long-term borrowing costs. That creates an unusual backdrop for his Jackson Hole appearance. The Treasury wants to ease pressure in long-term rates, while Warsh has emphasized letting markets play a larger role in determining those rates. Think about what that means for a moment. The government is trying to deal with elevated long-term borrowing costs, while the Fed chair is being watched for clues about inflation, interest rates, and the future of the bond market. That means Warsh doesn't need to announce some dramatic policy change tomorrow to move markets. He could simply say something that changes how investors interpret the relationship between inflation, Treasury yields, and future Fed decisions. According to recent market coverage, investors are not expecting Warsh to deliver a traditional piece of detailed forward guidance. That's exactly what makes the speech interesting. If the market expects little and Warsh suddenly gives it a clear framework for how he thinks about inflation or rates, that new information can move prices quickly. And with silver already sitting close to $70, the reaction could be amplified. So if Warsh leans even slightly hawkish tomorrow, meaning he signals more concern about inflation and a greater willingness to keep rates high, expect the dollar and Treasury yields to come under the microscope, with silver potentially facing immediate pressure. If he leans dovish, or simply sounds less aggressive than the market fears, silver could get another shot at $70. The important point is that traders aren't waiting for a guaranteed prediction. They're waiting for a surprise. There's another reason tomorrow could matter beyond a simple rate cut or rate hike signal. Investors are watching whether Warsh explains how he intends to think about inflation, long-term Treasury yields, and the balance between reacting to data and guiding markets in advance. Even a clearer explanation of that framework could change expectations for future Fed meetings. And if markets suddenly believe the Fed will be more flexible than expected, precious metals could react before most ordinary investors even have time to understand why. Now, here's a question worth sitting with for a second. Why would a Fed chair deliberately make his own institution harder to predict? The official answer is credibility, a belief that reacting to real data, instead of managing expectations in advance, ultimately produces better outcomes than a Fed that talks itself into a corner. The practical effect, however, is uncertainty. More uncertainty means markets pay more attention to every major speech, every inflation report, and every movement in Treasury yields, and that gives gold and silver more room to react violently when expectations suddenly change. But the Fed is only half the picture, and this is where the story about silver becomes something much stranger than an interest rate debate. While all eyes are on Washington and Wyoming, something has been quietly happening inside a set of unglamorous warehouses in New York and other approved locations, the COMEX vaults, where physical silver is stored and categorized as either registered or eligible. Registered silver is the portion that has been warranted for delivery against futures contracts, while eligible silver is held in approved vaults but isn't currently registered for delivery. As of August 25th, COMEX-approved warehouses held roughly 338 million ounces of silver, including about 99.2 million ounces classified as registered, and roughly 239 million ounces classified as eligible. That distinction matters because registered metal is the immediate delivery pool traders watch most closely. Here's the important part. The registered pile is only about 29% of all the silver sitting inside approved COMEX vaults. The rest is eligible, meaning it exists physically but hasn't been warranted for delivery. That doesn't mean the eligible silver is unavailable forever, and it doesn't automatically mean COMEX is about to run out of silver. But it does mean the market has to pay attention to how much metal is actually registered and available when delivery demand increases. This tiny detail changes how you should think about silver's price. It is not simply a story of supply and demand for jewelry or coins. It is also a story about the relationship between financial contracts and physical metal. As long as that relationship remains stable, the market functions normally. But if demand for physical delivery rises sharply while registered stocks become tight, the pressure can increase quickly. And the physical side of that equation has another important story. The Silver Institute and Metals Focus expect 2026 to be the sixth consecutive year in which the silver market remains in deficit, meaning total demand is expected to exceed new supply. The latest outlook estimates a structural deficit of roughly 46.3 million ounces for 2026, while the cumulative deficit over the 6-year period is projected at more than 762 million ounces. Here's the contradiction that deserves a moment of its own. A market can remain in deficit without physically running out of silver tomorrow morning. Higher prices can encourage more recycling, reduce some forms of demand, and push manufacturers to use less silver where possible. That's already happening in some industrial applications. But a long-running deficit still matters, because it means the market repeatedly has to find ways to balance demand against limited supply. That's why a registered COMEX inventory should be watched, but not exaggerated. The registered figure is currently below 100 million ounces, yet it has actually risen over the past month rather than collapsing. So the stronger story isn't that COMEX is already empty. The stronger story is that the market is watching whether registered stocks can continue to grow while silver demand remains strong. If they can't, the physical side of the market could become more important at exactly the moment financial demand accelerates. Now here's where the story goes global, and where most viewers have absolutely no idea what's happening behind the scenes. China remains one of the world's most important players in the silver supply chain, especially because of its enormous industrial base and demand from solar and electronics manufacturing. At the same time, the global silver market is dealing with structural supply constraints that cannot simply be solved by one central bank changing interest rates. That means the Fed can influence silver's financial price, but it cannot instantly create new mines or replace physical metal consumed by industry. And this is where the silver story becomes much bigger than Jackson Hole. Global mine production is expected to remain roughly flat in 2026, while the Silver Institute expects the structural deficit to widen to around 46.3 million ounces. The Institute also expects industrial fabrication to decline somewhat as manufacturers continue reducing the amount of silver used in certain applications, particularly photovoltaics. Meanwhile, demand from areas such as solar, electronics, automotive technology, and data center infrastructure continues to give silver an industrial role that gold simply doesn't have. That creates a complicated market. Higher prices can reduce demand through substitution and thrifting, but growing technology and infrastructure investment can keep pulling silver into new applications. So picture the full board now. A Federal Reserve chair about to give his first major Jackson Hole speech. A silver market sitting just below a major $70 resistance level. A COMEX registered inventory near 99 million ounces. And a global market expected to remain in structural deficit for a sixth consecutive year. That's an extraordinary number of pressure points converging on a single metal in a single week. There's one more piece of this puzzle that even seasoned investors sometimes overlook. The relationship between gold and silver themselves, measured by something called the gold-silver ratio, simply how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. When silver rallies harder than gold, the ratio compresses, and some analysts interpret that as a sign that silver is catching up after periods of underperformance. The ratio is another useful way to understand whether investors are favoring silver relative to gold, although it should never be treated as a guaranteed price signal. But why does any of this actually matter to an ordinary family sitting at their kitchen table tonight? Consider a retired couple living on a fixed pension. When inflation quietly erodes the purchasing power of that fixed income year after year, gold and silver can become part of the conversation about protecting purchasing power. For them, the Warsh speech tomorrow isn't abstract. It is another signal about the direction of inflation, interest rates, and the dollar, all of which can affect the real value of their savings. Consider a young couple trying to save for their first home. Every major shift in the Fed's expected rate path can influence borrowing costs and mortgage rates. A hawkish surprise tomorrow could push yields higher and make the financial environment more difficult. A softer signal could have the opposite effect. Either way, this speech touches one of the biggest financial decisions many families will ever make, whether they've ever heard of Kevin Warsh or not. And consider a factory worker building solar panels or electronic components. Silver isn't simply a financial asset sitting inside a vault. It is an industrial metal with important electrical and thermal properties, and hundreds of millions of ounces are used each year across industrial applications. The Silver Institute expects industrial fabrication to remain around 650 million ounces in 2026, even after some decline from the previous year. If silver becomes significantly more expensive, manufacturers have an incentive to use less of it, substitute where possible, or redesign products. That means higher prices can eventually change the demand itself. Here's the detail that makes silver fundamentally different from gold. A meaningful portion of silver is consumed in industrial applications rather than simply stored as an investment. Some of that silver becomes uneconomic to recover because the quantities used in individual components are tiny. Multiply those tiny amounts across millions or billions of products, and industrial demand becomes a persistent part of the market. Now, at the same time, higher prices can encourage manufacturers to reduce usage, which is why the silver story isn't as simple as saying more technology automatically means higher prices forever. This is why silver is so difficult to forecast. It reacts to monetary policy and investor psychology like a precious metal, but it also responds to manufacturing, technology, mine production, recycling, and substitution like an industrial commodity. That's the hidden pattern connecting everything in this story. A Fed chair who gives markets fewer clues, a silver price sitting near a major psychological level, a physical market with a large eligible inventory but a much smaller registered pool, and a global supply deficit that has now lasted for 6 consecutive years. Now here's the reality check, because a responsible look at this story has to include it. Silver's climb has already been so steep that some analysts are warning the market has become heavily influenced by investment demand and momentum. The metal is also historically much more volatile than gold, which means a breakout can become an equally violent correction. The Silver Institute itself expects high prices to encourage thrifting, substitution, and weaker demand in some industrial and jewelry categories. That's an important counterweight to keep in mind. Nobody serious can guarantee $70, $80, or $100. Silver has already demonstrated that it can move dramatically in both directions. A hawkish Fed signal, higher Treasury yields, or a stronger dollar could send silver sharply lower in the short term. A softer than expected message, falling rate expectations, or renewed investment demand could send it through $70 just as quickly. Both outcomes remain genuinely on the table. So here is where all of this actually lands. Tomorrow, Kevin Warsh walks up to a podium in Jackson Hole for the first time as Federal Reserve Chair, in front of a market that desperately wants clarity on inflation, interest rates, and the future direction of policy. But underneath that uncertainty sits a silver market that has already tested $70, a Fed divided over the path of rates, Treasury yields under intense scrutiny, and a global silver market expected to remain in deficit for a sixth consecutive year. Any one of those pressures on its own would be a story worth watching. All of them landing in the same week is what makes this moment genuinely important. Whatever Kevin Warsh says tomorrow, it will not magically determine the long-term future of silver, but it could become the catalyst that decides whether silver finally punches through $70 or gets rejected once again, and that reaction could tell investors a lot about where the market wants to go next. The mystery from our title isn't really about a number on a screen. It's about whether one person's words, delivered from a wooden podium in the Wyoming mountains, can become the spark for a market that was already standing on the edge. Silver is less than a few dollars away from $70, and tomorrow the Federal Reserve is about to give traders one more reason to choose between fear and greed. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. More powerful financial insights are coming next.